Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rob Morton. I'm part of Group 4, and I'm going to do my part of our project through this video, because unfortunately I couldn't be there today. I hope you all enjoy it. So, there are many differences in the ways men and women speak. Yes, you know, my group's already covered all of that, but what does this really mean? Do you know? Men and women speak the same language, English, but it was man-made. As you have already learned through history, men have created the English language and left women out. Is this fair? No, I don't think so. I doubt any of the women in this class do. But that's why women have been using their own subtle languages for years and years. But I guess men are maybe too oblivious sometimes to realize it. No offense, guys. Language as gendered is basically the different structure in people's thinking and interaction. This leads to a vast array of ways people experience the world. Every experience is involved with language and communication. These messages are different to both men and women. Basically, since we were kids, we have been trained to see the two different sexes, men and women. And people have a hard time seeing anything other than that. The problems with communication between the two genders led to women finding other ways around it. So women began forming book clubs and other types of organizations to truly express themselves. A great example of their subtle language and expression was the Underground Railroad. Back in those days, women would hang out quilts to dry outside for the day. The truth was, these quilts had hidden meanings. The designs of the quilt would explain the situation in the area. A monkey wrench quilt would show that it was time for the slaves to pack up their tools and get ready for the long trip. A tumbling boxes quilt meant it was time to move and get out of there. Some of the quilts even got very specific. A Dresden quilt meant that it was time to go to Dresden, Canada, and that was the safest place at the time, so that's where they had to go. This quilt is called the Drunkard's Path. It's a warning signal to take a zigzag route to elude pursuing slave hunters and their hounds that are in the area. The sailboat quilt is a signal that either a body of water is nearby or there were boats available. Now, slave catchers, who were usually men, overlooked these quilts and didn't even think anything of it. They just thought it was quilts hanging out to dry. So it made sense for them to just keep looking, and that's how the women got away with these subtle messages. I think this quilt example truly shows how oblivious a man-made language can be. It's crazy how these secret forms of language went totally over the heads of the slave catchers. This is a perfect example of gendered language. Men's language is exactly what they have learned and been taught, while women have used these language differences to their advantages by being obvious yet so subtle. There are so many expressions out there, just like the quilt, that how can a language be confined to just speaking? It makes perfect sense that women should have input on a language also. Sharice Kamari says that women need to take control of their own language by making forms of communication that are comfortable to them. She wants women to create a world where everyone is equal and free from arrogant languages. This can only happen when people reject all forms of oppression. In the English language, sometimes men have simply created words that just don't apply to women. It can be fair, it can be unbalanced, it doesn't matter. It just simply isn't equal. For example, when addressing a man, you always refer to him as Mr., no matter what. Mr. Morton, Mr. Power, Mr. whatever. Doesn't matter. But when you address a woman, it depends on her marital status. It can be Mrs. blah 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 or Mrs. blah blah blah. It depends on her marital status. So the truth is about this, it provides no useful information. It doesn't matter. Now, feminists have been fighting back for years, even creating their own dictionary. Our language say when a woman is married, she gains a maiden name. What feminists are saying is, it's a sexual double standard, and it should be called a birth name for both men and women. Some of their definitions do go a bit on the extreme side. Like the definition, home. A comfortable concentration camp and a place of work and recreation for women with small children. You can be the judge of that. But who's to say that women are wrong for fighting for a better language?
Languages can be and are separated by gender.
Gender and language are so deeply intertwined that I hope you all realize it is a part of your everyday lives. Next time you're addressing someone as Mr. or Miss or Mrs. or Doctor or even Professor, think about it. What are these words really saying about our language?
Thank you for listening and your attention. I appreciate it. Now we're going to finish off our project with our conclusion.